Hello and welcome back to the Barrett channel for a brand new video. Yes, I am walking around my neighborhood and my area, which I'm really excited about because it's good to be able to get out and do these types of videos again. It's been far too long. I'll just show you around. I'm just at a crossroad right now and there's a lot more people sort of on the road. You know, stuff's getting back to normal now, ever so slowly. It's very busy on the roads again, plenty of people about. Because you know, life's got to go on, and there's not been a bunch of cases in Shenzhen for a while, so you know, I'm really excited to be able to bring these talking videos out and about to you again. I've just actually walked over a red light without noticing. Probably not the best idea to be filming when I'm going across a crossroad, but as I said, life moves on. So what's today's video about, do you ask? Yesterday, March the 4th, today is March the 5th, so yesterday marks the 1 year, I'm not going to say anniversary, but 1 year since I left the UK and came to China. I'm just going to sort of, basically what this video is going to be about is about what I've learned, you know, in the year of leaving the UK, which is a lot. You know, traveling is an experience in itself, so 1 year since I left the UK, like I said, which is definitely the best decision I've ever made in my entire life by a country mile. And to be honest, I'm quite proud of myself for doing that. And I think that's okay to acknowledge that sometimes. It takes a certain amount of bravery and courage to take a leap of faith like I did, because, you know, it could all go very sour, which it did a little bit to start with, which I'll go on to explain. So I'll try and keep this short and sweet, but I'm going to give you some context on why I came to China, right? So before I came, I was doing a college course that I really didn't want to be doing. I had no interest in. I was working a bunch of part-time jobs that I hated also, and I was kind of living paycheck to paycheck, you know, just living for the weekends, which, you know, the majority of people that I was surrounded by in the UK were also doing the same thing. And all of these, you know, areas of my life that I wasn't happy with eventually ended up taking a toll on my mindset and my mentality, and I ended up having a really bad mental state. So it got worse and worse, and then I'm not looking for sympathy or anything, because you know, I'm a lot happier now, but it got worse and worse, and I ended up realizing that, look, I need to make a change. I need to make a big change in my life. So my initial reaction, my initial thought straight away was, oh, my dad lives in China. So Lee, who runs this YouTube channel as well, he'd been living in China permanently for 2 years at this time. He'd been coming to China for sort of 8 years back and forth before that. But yeah, so he'd been living in China for 2 years. So I thought, literally just the first thought that came to my mind when I realized that I needed to make a change was, yeah, I could go to China. And I thought, well, literally, you know, that actually is possible. I could just drop everything here and go to China. So fast forward a bit, and that is what I did. So yeah, I landed in China. I didn't really know why I wanted to come here. All I knew is that I needed a big change. So it was all building up to coming to China. So once that happened, I was kind of like, what now? I had this sort of light bulb moment where I was like, huh, I'm here. What do I do? What now? So I ended up just kind of exploring Shenzhen, doing a few things. I was here for about a month before I went traveling to Vietnam with one of my friends from the UK. And over that month, I was kind of pretty lonely because I didn't really make much of an effort to make friends. I kind of just thought it would find me, and I didn't really put myself out there enough to make friends and stuff like that. And I'm a very extroverted person, so I ended up getting quite lonely when I first arrived, you know, because I missed my friends back home. I guess I was kind of a bit homesick now in retrospect, and that kind of swallowed my mind a bit. So when I just before I went traveling with my friend, which is about 6 weeks after I arrived in China, I ended up changing my flight back to, as soon as I finished my travels, to go back to the UK, because I thought that I didn't like it here. I was like, this isn't for me, you know, I've had a good time or whatever, but this isn't for me. And ever since I changed my flight, the whole time during my travels, I had this deep-rooted gut feeling that I was going to regret it massively, and I was just going to go back to old ways, and I was going to throw away what could have been, you know, a blessing of an opportunity. You know, it's not many people that are able to move across the world and take that jump, and then also have someone there to help you, you know, show you around, show you the ropes. You know, so I thought I was going to be throwing it away, and luckily I noticed that, and I was able to overcome whatever I was feeling at the time and stay here. It was actually on the day of my flight that I knew, look, I'm not going to take my flight, I'm not going to go home, I'm going to stay here, ride it out. And then things started to get much better. Okay, so that's kind of the backstory. I know that was quite long-winded, but that's my story, that's why I'm here. And now I've been here a year, and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it now, and I really don't know what the next step will be for me when I'm done here, but all I know is now I don't want things to change. I'm very happy here, and I'm going to be here for, you know, the foreseeable future. So now I'm going to move on to sort of what I've learned while being in China. What lessons can I take forward now into the future, you know, whatever comes at me in the future. The first one is being that taking a risk, just as simple as taking a risk. You know, leaving the UK, leaving my whole life in the UK and coming here was a massive risk, and it's paid off, but it didn't pay off straight away. But what I've come to see is that taking a risk is extremely important. If you constantly live in your comfortable little bubble and live in fear of doing something bigger, you'll always live to think, what if, you know, what if I was able to bring myself to do that? But you'll never know, which will, in my opinion, come to be quite a shame. Secondly, it's made me realize, like, when you grow up in one place and all your external influences from people who have grown up in that one place, it's your mindset and your perspective is very narrow, and I didn't realize that until I left, because obviously if you're not opened up to the bigger world, you don't know that all this way of living exists. You don't know that, you know, things are different in different countries. The only thing that you know is what the media shows you, which I'll get onto, which is also a complete load of rubbish most of the time. So yeah, just going to different countries, like I had no idea what China was like before I came out here. And I'd had my dad telling me about things in China for 8 years, you know, because he'd been going there. And still, I had no idea what it was like. My presumptions, of, like, before I came here, I thought I knew what China was like. And I had no idea. I really had no idea. And that was the same for Vietnam. It's like, we think we know what these places are like until you actually go there, and then it completely changes your perspective on it. It really does, and it's really eye-opening. And like I said at the start, it's just an education in itself. I've always said that if you go on a holiday and you go traveling and then you live in a place, those three things, you can go to the exact same place and you'd have three totally separate experiences. You know, I travelled Vietnam south to north, you know, very thoroughly, but my experience will be totally different to someone who's lived there. And living here, you really get to, like, throw yourself into the culture and live like a local and see how, you know, just little daily things are done here, see what the etiquette's like, see just, you know, normal daily stuff that you'd never get to see if you just went on a holiday to a country. And that's what I love. That's what I thrive off, is seeing, like, the cultural differences, you know what I mean? Just the little things. And certainly now, a year later, I definitely notice a lot less than I did when I first arrived. Like, I remember when I first arrived, I was literally gobsmacked at like every little thing. I was going, wow, that's so different. You know, wow, that situation wouldn't have occurred there. Whoa, like that person acted in a way that I've never seen before, or I wouldn't expect, or, you know, just little things. And even now, it does happen quite often. There'll be things that I think, whoa, you know, that's really interesting. But a lot less than when I first arrived, definitely. Another thing that's been very valuable for me is understanding how valuable it is and how important it is to learn another language. Not only for the knowledge of it and how you can use it to sort of benefit your future, but just to open up your perspective. You know, the way that Mandarin is put together, you know, I haven't learned a great deal of it. I've only learned sort of everyday things to get me, you know, around. And before I leave China, I want to know fluent Mandarin. But just the way that people use a language to express their ideas is just totally different. And it really makes you kind of understand why the people act the way they do. And you'll never know that until you start to learn a different language. I've noticed that in the UK, and I would imagine it's the same in all native English-speaking countries, we're not really encouraged to learn other languages. And I think it's a very selfish way of thinking in the school curriculums and things. It's that we're not really encouraged to speak another language, and I don't know why that is, but I guess it's the way our school systems are set up to make you think that, you know, English is a international language. You know, there's always going to be places you can go that people will speak English, and yeah, it breeds this selfishness and lack of, you know, awareness of other languages and speaking to other people in the world. It's like, as soon as I've come here, I've noticed that most Europeans, they're able to pick up the language much quicker than native English speaking countries, because they probably already know their European language and English as well, and then they're able to adopt that learning technique to learn Mandarin much faster. So I've definitely noticed that people who already speak two languages can usually speak Mandarin much more than anyone from a native English speaking country. Coming on to the last thing, and probably the thing that's, you know, the most eye-opening thing of living here or in a different country at all, is the understanding that the media aren't always right, and the fact that a country are able to push a narrative to their citizens that they want their citizens to believe. And I'm not going to go too deep into this because I could, you know, talk forever, but there's always two sides to a story. You know, if anyone's having conflict with another country, or anyone's putting media on the internet that's to do with another country, there's always a political bias behind it. And for example, being here and sort of trying to tell people the truth of what it's actually like causes some pushback, as you can probably imagine. But what I get from, you know, comments on videos or people at home is they think that because I've now lived here and I like the country, I'm just all pro-China, and, you know, I'm just back in the country in what anyone says, I'm just siding with China because I like it here. Which is not particularly true. I just like to tell things how I honestly feel about them and my truthful opinion about them. I try to look at things objectively as I possibly can, but let me reel it back in a little bit. Because the people who are accusing me of being pro-China and biased towards China, it's because they can't understand the way that we see things, because they simply haven't experienced it. And that's through no fault of their own, other than just a lack of perspective, because they haven't had the same experiences as me or whoever else has lived in that place. So their way of seeing the world is different to the way that I see the world. I don't know how to explain it. It's just strange. It's just really made me understand that, you know, you've always got to do your own research. If you read something online and it's about this and that, you've always got to look at it from several different sources, or try and speak to somebody who's on the ground in the place to see what's going on there, because you've always got to take them with a pinch of salt, because a lot of them just simply aren't true. And the media nowadays just wants to get clicks for advertising revenue, and you know what gets clicks is that people are going to be putting stuff that's going to enrage people. It's going to cause arguments. It's going to cause a lot of engagement in the comment section, you know, because these are the things that earn money. And simply that's just how it is nowadays. That's the world we've created. Anyway, as I said, I think this video has gone on for way too long already, so I'm going to try and wrap it up here. I guess this kind of turned into a rant, but that's what I've learned since coming to China. If you ever get the experience, if you ever get the opportunity to move abroad, please take it, because you won't regret it. You really won't. And I hope you like this video. Let me know by liking this video if you did like it. You know, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and if you really like us, drop those notification bells so that you never miss a Barrett video. As always, until next time, I'll catch you later. Bye bye for now.